we can try that again. Hola! Hola! Buenos dias. Mi nombre es Timoteo. Good morning. I'm Tim, and I serve gratefully as minister of this fine institution. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, California, on this glorious, bright, sunny day here in the Central Valley. Welcome to everybody on our virtual campus. Let's hear it for our virtual campus. Welcome to everyone on our Alluvial Ave campus. Yay! You can give it up for yourselves as well. As we like to say, we are one congregation in many places. If you are on our virtual campus, now is the absolutely perfect time to share this live stream with your Facebook or YouTube friends and followers. We acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples. As Unitarian Universalists, we are happy to welcome you no matter your race, culture of origin, age, spiritual background, or religious beliefs. We welcome you no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, your level of education, or your neurodiversity. You are welcome with or without documentation, con papeles y sin papeles. No human being is illegal at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. I have to say, no human being should be illegal in the United States of America. As Unitarian Universalists, we not only open our doors to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, we value diversity of sexuality and gender, and we see it as a spiritual gift. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. If you are on our virtual campus and you wish to share a personal joy, sorrow, or concern, gratitude on both the virtual and our Alluvial Ave campuses, please type them now into the chat box. This is that moment to type a joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude, and our ushers are going to write them down and then give them to me so that I can include them later in the service. If you don't do it now in the chat box, we're just not going to have enough time to write them all down and get them to me. As you may know, we have just about wrapped up our annual pledge drive. That is that gleeful and glorious time when the members and friends of the church let the staff know how much we will generously share in terms of financial support during the upcoming fiscal year, which runs from July 1st through June 30th. Your pledge allows us to build our budget based on the total amount of money we expect to be donated from church members and friends. I am thrilled to announce that our current pledged total amount is, drum roll if I could, Nicholas, drum roll please, $633,332. That is, in this time of continuing pandemic, that is 103.3% of our goal of $612,892. If you are one of those remaining few outstanding pledges, or you would like to make a pledge for the very first time, see me, see Patty at the welcome table, or just let us know in the chat box on our virtual campus and we'll reach out. You can always email pledge@uufresno.org. And I like to have the Alluvial Ave help me with that. What is that address again? pledge@uufresno.org. And now, in the chat box, in person here on Alluvial Ave, or in the silence of your own precious heart, let's take a moment to greet one another and say, Buenos dias.
Buenos días, señor. Guten Tag.
For some of us, the moment that the tingsha sounds takes us into the only moment of silence that we've had in the last 7 days. So let this sacred sound of the tingsha carry you to that quiet place that is within.
Two, three, four.
Sun's up, looks okay. The world survives into another day, and I'm thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me. I had another dream about lions at the door. They weren't half as frightening as they were before, and I'm thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me. Walls, windows, trees, waves coming through. You being me and I'll being you, together in eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me. Up among the firs where it smells so sweet, or down in the valley where the river used to be, got my mind on eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me, and I'm wondering where the lines are. I'm wondering where the lines are. I'm wondering where the lines are. Wonder where the lines are. I wonder where the lines are. Wonder where the lines are. Wonder where the lines are. I wonder where the lines are. I wonder where the lines are. Huge orange flying boat rises off the lake. 1,000-year-old petroglyphs doing a double take, pointing a finger at eternity. I'm sitting in the middle of this ecstasy. Young men marching, helmet shining in the sun, polished and precise like a brain behind the gun should be. They got me thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me. Yeah. And I wonder where the lines are. 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 I wonder where the lines are.
Good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Reva Guimon, and I serve gratefully as a member of the worship arts team. If you have a candle or chalice with you at home, bring it close, as we'll be lighting it soon. There's an ancient proverb from Uzbekistan that teaches, don't choose a house, choose neighbors. Don't choose a path, choose traveling companions. Don't choose a path, choose traveling companions. Almost 800 years ago, the Persian Muslim mystic Rumi wrote beautiful words about the spiritual journey and traveling companions. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Though you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come yet again, come. These words of inclusion and hope were first written in Persian and then traveled along the Silk Road and were translated into many languages, arriving in the Americas. Would you join with me to each other these timeless words of welcome? Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Though you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come yet again, come. In the spirit, I invite you to light your chalice or candle at home as Tim kindles the flame on our Alluvial Avenue campus. Tim, are you ready to light the chalice?
It is burning bright, Reva.
Let us rise now in body or spirit and join in the singing our song of praise, We Shall Be Known.
2, 3, 4.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves within the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
I invite us to join together in the words of our mission statement. La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Please be seated. Often people ask, what is the heart of Unitarian Universalism. And for decades, they've been captured in what we call our 7 principles and purposes. As some of you know, we are in the process of deciding as a congregation if we want to add an 8th principle that will specifically name one of our aspirations is to create an inclusive, diverse, anti-racist congregation. Congregations across the country, Unitarian Universalists across the country, are voting and to add this 8th principle, and then we're going to take that to the National Assembly, where over a 2-year process there will be voting on whether nationally to add this 8th principle. Church member Ken Ma is here via the virtual campus to share why he feels this is an essential thing for this congregation to do.
I support adoption of the 8th UU principle. As a person of color and the son of Chinese immigrants, I've enjoyed privilege and advantages ostensibly open to all in our society. I've also been aware throughout my life, and have been reminded recently, how easily people of color and those who have been marginalized can be othered and scapegoated. For example, Asians in the United States have been viewed as a model minority, but also as unfairly competing for jobs and education, undermining the economy, complicit with wartime enemies who looked like us, and heaven knows how, linked to the coronavirus. Given this history, and my personal sense that belonging in a society can be tentative and impermanent, I believe clear and explicit affirmations of diversity and anti-racism have an important place in our UU Statement of Principles.
We begin each day with a question. Will we breathe deeply into this day that we have been given? And so in that spirit, I invite us to take a breath in, breathing in peace. We hold a moment. We breathe out love. And again, we breathe in peace. We hold. We breathe out love. And one last time, we breathe in peace into every cell of the body. We hold a moment. We breathe out love. And so we continue breathing together on this glorious Sunday morning, breathing with our imagination over the last 7 days, the week that we have just lived through. For some of us, it was a rough week. Others of us, it was a bit more gentle. And as we breathe, 2 questions for reflection. In the last week, did you do something that nurtured your spirit? In the week ahead, what is one small thing you could do that would be an act of self-care? We move from questions into the time in our service where we create the space for whatever it is we're carrying in our hearts, carrying in our minds this morning. This is our time of sharing joys, sorrows, concerns, and gratitudes. Some of us stopped at the small table at the entranceway to the sanctuary where the statue of the Earth Mother rests and filled out a small card. Others of us on our virtual campus typed into the chat box 10 minutes ago, and we have these alive with us this morning. Ida Jones is feeling gratitude for the beautiful day in Fresno and Elk Grove. She requests support for her son, Khan, who is struggling with a family court judge who is completely ignoring his views. So holding Ida and your son and your family. Hannah is feeling grateful for this community of beautiful humans. I get to share this lovely place that feels like home. And you help make it feel like home, Hannah. We have Luca is grateful for his grandma and sad for my dog that died today. And Isaiah is feeling grateful for his house. Tanisha is joyful that graduation awaits. Someone who is holding their name in confidence is filled with sorrow. The most meaningful relationship I've had is seeming to crumble due to past trauma and lack of communication. I'm filled with grief that my family will fall apart in front of me. John R., his heart goes out to my sister and brother-in-law who lost their home to a forest fire in New Mexico, but grateful for the love and support they've received from friends and neighbors. John, we hold them in our thoughts and in our prayers. Jonah is sad because he misses his cat, Nora, over the weekend. We remember two, our beloved church members who are unable to be with us in person because of health challenges and compromised mobility and other impacts to their well-being. We lift up Edith H., William H., Laura G., Molly K., Glenda R., Pat M., Al G., Brandon E., Josephine J. We also grieve that Jason Bernardi passed gently into the mysteries of death on Monday. We grieve even as we celebrate his life well lived. We send our love, our light, our wishes, our prayers to his husband, Jay Tamashiro. And if you would like to honor Jason in our virtual campus, just type J in the comment box for Jason. Today, we also wish a blessed Beltane to those who celebrate the pagan festival today. It's the midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. It's a celebration of joy, fertility, vitality, and passion. Today, May 1st, is also International Workers' Day. Tomorrow is the last day of Ramadan, so Ramadan Kareem to our friends at the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno and beyond. This month, May, is Asian Pacific Island American Heritage Month. And we pause before we light our candle of community to make note of the horrific and immoral anti-abortion law in Oklahoma that outlaws abortion after 6 weeks, and based on Texas law, allows citizens to bring lawsuits against anyone they suspect of aiding or abetting an abortion. If this sickens and terrifies you, type X in the chat box. And so, for all that's been shared, for all that we hold in the sacred silence of our own hearts, and for all those who on this Sunday have no one to remember them, no one to speak their name with gentleness or love, we light our candle of community. By our remembering, may we and they be blessed. We light a second candle, as is our custom. This burns for the over 6.24 million citizens of the world who have lost their lives in this pandemic, 992,000 of whom were residents of this country. Riva, at the beginning of the service, mentioned the Silk Road and how that carried those words of Rumi through the centuries to us. The Silk Road also carried these ancient words that have been chanted for thousands of years in the Far East. Adgreneme Jagad Gure Namah, Sat Gure Namah, Sri Guru Dev E Namah. It means there is a truth or there's a reality, and it has existed in the past, it existed in the near future, in the near present, it exists in this moment, and that truth, that presence, that love will exist far into days beyond our counting. Let us chant together, Ad Gire Namah.
Sri Guru Dev Namah. Ad Gure Namah. Jugat Gure Namah. Sat Gure Namah. Sri Guru Dev Namah. Ad Gure Namah. Jugat Gure Namah. Sat Gure Namah. Sri Guru Dev Namah.
Our words of prayer or reflection come from the influential pagan, earth-based spiritual teacher, Starhawk. I offer them on this celebration of Beltane. Let us pray. We give gratitude to the earth, to the dust of stars that congealed into the body of this planet, our home, and that still gives form and solidity to our bones and flesh. We honor the rocks, our siblings, and their long, slow cycles of transformation into life and back to seabed, mountain, stone. The stones have stories to tell if we but listen. We offer gratitude for the plants, the roots and stems and boughs, the great trees reaching upward, and the deep-rooted herbs pushing down, all contributing to the cycles of birth and growth and death and decay that lead to fertility and new growth. We offer gratitude for the complex and beautiful patterns of life. We thank the weaver of the web of life for teaching us that all is interconnected, May the cycles of the moons and the sun's journeys through the year help us remember that light arises from shadow, rebirth from death. May the cycles of the moons and the sun's journeys through the year help us remember. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Sometimes I wanna be out somewhere in the open, precious, fresh air. Times I wanna take off, fly, and sprout some wings and go. Sometimes I'd like to leave my life, not be no mother or be no wife. Sometimes I'd rather not be nowhere here above below. I know that I chose this way. I made my home on the road I'm walking on today. Sometimes I'd like to catch a train, I would hop that thing and just get away. Sometimes I fear it's all in vain, this running to and fro. Sometimes I'd like to dig a hole and disappear inside of my soul. Raise up my hands, give up control and let my worries go. I know that I chose this way. I've made my home on the road I'm walking on today. Yeah. Anybody here do everything right? Anybody here wanna make this life the best damn thing you ever did? When I'm not cleaning up my mess, I hold my hopes up to my breast and I give myself a little rest and just enjoy the flow. Sometimes I think it's not all bad and I make the best out of what I have. And when I'm at my very best, I'm learning as I go. I know that I chose this way. I make my home on the road I'm walking on today. Yeah. And I'm learning as I go.
Beauty through travel. I feel blessed that in my later years in life, I've had the opportunity to do some international travel for both work and as a tourist, and have found beauty in those experiences. In 2006, my husband and I traveled to Japan, staying with my sister-in-law, who worked for the military. We were able to see key places, learn about the culture, and experienced how very crowded a country Japan is. How beautifully they seem to move about like a fishbowl in their marketplaces, everyone on one side moving instinctively forward, while their other side naturally moves the other way. I had to retrieve a brand new coat I had left from a restaurant, and as I was leaving, I mentioned to an American family leaving with me, "I'm so glad they saved my coat." The woman said, "Had you left it there for months, they would have saved it. I once left my laptop on the subway, and it was saved for me." We're leaving Japan after 4 years, and I'm worried for my 9 and 10-year-old sons because they have no street smarts. To further reinforce the trust they spoke about, my husband and I grabbed a kids' meal at McDonald's, always saving the toys for our grandchildren. The cashier pointed to a long table out in the lobby where all the toys were placed. There for the taking. Help yourselves was the message. My husband and I looked at each other. making the motion that would look what that would look like in the States. The trust in this country was beautiful. It was work-related when we traveled to Australia. A team of colleagues and I were there to do a 3-day conference entitled Citizen-Centered Leadership Development for participants who support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. One of the concepts were difficult to grasp for some, and I was pulled aside during the break. I listened, and after a brief discussion, they added, "By the way, what makes this so much more difficult to understand is your accent is so thick." That was fun. But to get to the beauty in Australia, after the conference, my husband and I would take the tram into Melbourne to see the sights every day. At each stop, I took notice that when an older person would enter, immediately the youth would stand up and offer their seat. Over and over again, I witnessed that kind consideration of offering the comfort of their seat to someone older. It was automatic, built into their culture, and I wondered how that was taught. Now, I don't use public transportation, so I can't compare, though I wonder if that's what I would see in our community. One more work-related travel was in Canada, and the extended stay took me to the most beautiful Niagara Falls. The best experience was the Maiden of the Mist boat ride that could be renamed Maiden of the Drenched. I was so overcome, I screamed with delight as if I was on a roller coaster. My colleagues asked, "Was that you screaming?" I left wanting to return, especially because my husband was not with me on that trip. This return trip was completely planned, completely paid for, right down to the last detail, for July of 2020. Need I say more? Because I want to end this with the beauty of our travels, I'll close with our most recent travel. This was to the not-so-beautiful desert of Las Vegas. Where was the beauty? That would be in the faces of our beautiful grandchildren, who had it seemed like forever since we were able to see and embrace or even get to know. We spent 2 days playing on the floor, celebrating Papa's birthday, and sharing our New Orleans and Hispanic dishes together. It was all very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Riva. Our monthly theme for May is Awakening Beauty. One of the most beautiful and simple yet cut-to-the-heart melodies ever penned has been set to words in many different ways. This, we will be singing, "This is my song, O God of all the nations." I invite us to rise in body or spirit.
2, 3, 4, 1.
This is my song, for good to all the nations, a song of peace for land so far and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean.
Please be seated. So I'm aware that Reeve and I both will be speaking, Reeve has already spoken, I will be speaking about beauty discovered while traveling. And I want to acknowledge that both of our reflections come from a place of privilege because we have the privilege and the means to be able to travel internationally. And I know that that's not the case for all members of this congregation. So I just want to acknowledge that economic distinction, that class privilege. Also aware that many in our congregation have traveled internationally as part of the military and acknowledge that portal to the world. Others of us are armchair travelers with books and magazines, and now, because of video so easily accessible and the scripture known as YouTube, we can travel the world from the safety and the comfort of our homes, assuming we are privileged enough to have that access to the internet. This morning, I'm revisiting a sermon about travel in Uzbekistan. I first shared this sermon in 2018, but we revisit it because these words seem newly relevant to us today, given the world's current state of affairs. It touches on timelessness and the wages of war. It touches on brokenness in the world and about nurturing beauty in the world and in ourselves. In 2017, when I told people I was planning to travel to Uzbekistan, the most common reaction I received was, "Uz what?" Followed by, "Uz where?" That's where, that red highlighted country in Central Asia. Uzbekistan, just below the massive hulk that is Russia and to the west of China. Uzbekistan, with Kazakhstan Uzbekistan, it's below Kazakhstan and above Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan. Uzbekistan was the center of the fabled Silk Road, that trade route that stretched from China to the Mediterranean Sea. And being the center of the Silk Road, it was arguably the most traversed place in the ancient world. How to describe the ancient, timeless, and modernizing experience that is Uzbekistan? Uzbekistan is a swirl of color, the blues, whites, greens, and golds of monumental mosques and madrasas. Uzbekistan is the warmth, wisdom of ancient fires, temples that were the birthplaces of the Zoroastrian religion. Uzbekistan is the bright illumination of ancient centers of learning, academies, out of which grew some of the earliest discoveries of astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. Uzbekistan is the ancient splendor of the Silk Road trade routes, with camel caravans carrying spices, teas, fabrics, salt, sugar, precious metals, jewels, and porcelain treasures, camel caravans that allowed East to meet West, spreading ideas, cultures, foods, and religions. Truly the first World Wide Web. The first taste of globalization. Uzbekistan is vast cotton fields and fruits orchards in the Fergana Valley, often harvested by forced labor. And Uzbekistan is world-class snowboarding and skiing in the Chimgan Mountains. Uzbekistan is the iron fist of 67 years of Soviet occupation, 1924 to 1991, when the country became a satellite of the Russian motherland. Uzbekistan is the harsh reality of the now independent Uzbek Republic, which boasts one of the most oppressive and authoritarian governments in the world. Uzbekistan is the earthy smell of a tea house tucked into a crumbling alleyway, displaying a sign proclaiming not Starbucks, but Silk Road Cafe, family-owned and operated since 1400. Uzbekistan is the sturdy softness of a wind-swept yurt. That's me meeting my first yurt. Uzbekistan is the hard gray of Soviet-era cement construction and the soft gray of a donkey hauling eggplants and tomatoes to the bazaar. Uzbekistan is the tall, tiled minarets that once beckoned desert travelers into the safety of the Silk Road cities of Samarkand, Khiva, and Bukhara. And Uzbekistan is the honking of cars and buses in the smog-filled traffic circle in the center of the capital city of Tashkent. Uzbekistan, if nothing else, is a feast for the senses, an ever-changing complexity that delights, overwhelms, and sometimes scares. But for me, the true heart of Uzbekistan is none of those things that I've just said, the things that you've just seen. For me, the heart of the country is something simple, something silent, something solitary that spoke to my soul. This is a stone from the ancient fortress city of Toprak in the Kazikum Desert of Uzbekistan. Almost 3,000 years ago, Toprak was part of the kingdom of Khorezm, the oldest civilization in Central Asia. The kingdom of Khorezm was a great cultural center with influence and splendor and longevity, perhaps unparalleled in the ancient world. The kingdom of Khorezm and its vast network of fortress cities sourced its strength and inspiration in part from its Zoroastrian religion, a faith that offered a balanced understanding of good and evil, light and shadow, life and death, and rebirth. So powerful was Khorezm that even Alexander the Great avoided confronting it during his quest to conquer the world. Alexander led his armies around Khorezm rather than trying to march through and subdue it. He knew better. He knew he'd be defeated. Khorezm flourished from the 6th century BCE until some 2,000 years later, when Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes invaded. With complete disregard for the people and rich culture of the region, Genghis Khan brutally butchered its inhabitants. Blood flowed in the streets, and the severed heads of a once great people were stacked, the legend says, on top of one another in grisly pyramids rising several hundred feet in the air. A sad testament to humanity's timeless impulse to conquer and destroy. But today, some 800 years after that unfathomable devastation, the majestic fortress cities of Khorezm still stand to inspire new generations. The landscape, as you can see, is different now. What were once fertile fields and rich irrigation-fed farmland is now a vast, remote, and empty desert that burns under an unforgiving summer sun. Yet, these walls remain. The walls of that fortress remains. The stones in those walls of those fortresses remain 3,000 years after human hands carefully put them in place. And there I stood with those walls and stones, a strange, pale visitor from a far-off land and a more complex time, come to bear witness to their history and their silence, their starkness, and their story. Have you ever stood in a place of stone and story? Have you ever stood in a place of stone and story? Perhaps that place had jagged stones that were scattered naturally on a windswept mountaintop or a crevice or ravine. Perhaps that place had smooth stones that water had washed along a lazy riverbed, or in the thundering of a waterfall in the spring Sierras, or as Riva mentioned, in the Niagara Gorge, a beauty and splendor that caused you to exclaim in joy and wonder. Perhaps that place of stone and story had shiny decorative stones arranged ever so carefully in a quiet grove or garden, such as Fresno's own Shinzen Japanese garden at Woodward Park, or perhaps in a friend's backyard. Or perhaps, like in the many sacred ruins in the Americas and around the world, perhaps like Khorezm, that place had stones that had been shaped into walls, into houses and ancient cities. Have you ever stood in a stone-filled place, a place that without any effort on your part centered you solidly in the present moment, yet connected you to the wisdom of the past? Of such places, poet David White writes, "You have never looked into the immovability of stone like this. The way it holds you, gives you not a way forward, but a doorway in. Staunches your need to live, becomes faithful by going nowhere. Something that wants you to stay here and look back, to be weathered by what comes to you, like the way you too have traveled so far away to be here, once reluctant and now as solid and as here and as willing to be touched as everything you have found." The stones have stories to tell if we but listen. The stones hold truths for tomorrow if we would but hear. Monk and philosopher Thomas Merton writes, "Be still. Listen to the stones of the wall. Be silent. They try to speak your name. Listen to the living walls. Who are you? Who are you? Whose silence are you? Who, be quiet, are you as these stones are quiet? Do not think of what you are, still less of what you one day may be. Rather, be what you are. But who? Be the unthinkable one you do not yet know. Oh, be still while you are still alive and all things live around you. And all things live around you, speaking to your own being, speaking by the unknown that is in you and in themselves. This is a stone from the ancient fortress city of Toprakala. Almost 3,000 years ago, this stone was part of the kingdom of Khorezm, the oldest civilization in Central Asia. This stone was part of a cultural center that sourced its strength from the Zoroastrian religion, a faith tradition that taught a balanced understanding of good and evil, light and shadows, life, death, rebirth. This stone and Khorezm flourished for 2,000 glorious years until a callous and barbarous leader emerged and arrived, and with complete disregard for the people and the rich culture of the region, brutally butchered its inhabitants. He did so without decorum. He did so without respect. He did so with no sense of loss for all he dismantled, dismembered, and destroyed. But today, some 800 years after that unfathomable destruction and devastation, the majestic fortress cities of Khorezm still stand to inspire new generations. They stand there, long and lasting. The stones endure. May this stone from a people who lived 3,000 years ago remind us that something lasts beyond this present moment. May this stone from a culture that flourished 3,000 years ago remind us that there are truths that endure beyond times of uncertainty, upheaval, fear, falsehood, and destruction. May this stone from an ancient culture and religion remind us as Unitarian Universalists that our culture and our religion does matter. Our holy work of loving inclusively, growing spiritually, serving gratefully, and working for justice does matter. But may this stone also remind us that we are just a part of something larger, vaster, and more sweeping than this moment in time. Others who come after us will carry forward our work to new generations. May this ancient stone be a building block in the future, a building block in the future that we shape but will never see, a future that we hope awakens humanity to the beauty that is within them, among them, and beyond them. Our stones will one day have stories to tell to those who come after us. Our stones will one day hold truth for someone else's tomorrow. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
2, 3, 4.
We are united now within these ancient wheels. We are united in the spirit of the music at our heels. On reflection, we rebuild and we restore. We are as Mother Nature's children as we dance around the floor.
All together, all as one. All together,
Relentlessly, we're dancing on.
all together, all as one. All together,
Relentlessly, we're dancing on. We are invisible upon these dancing feet. We're shape and shadowless, revolving to the one eternal beat. With hearts connected, we will turn the other round. We are as Mother Nature's children as we dance upon the ground.
all together, all as one. All together,
Relentlessly, we're dancing on.
all together, all as one. All together,
Relentlessly, we're dancing on. We stay forever here within these timeless walls. We'll stay forever here, no matter how the turning silver falls. Accelerated, we have seen this place before. We are as Mother Nature's children as we dance around the floor.
all together,
All as one. All together, relentlessly, we're dancing on. All together, all as one. All together, relentlessly, we're dancing on. All together, all as one. All together, relentlessly, we're dancing on. All together, all as one. All together, relentlessly, we're dancing on.
This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with membership open to all who are in accordance with our principles, mission, and vision. Come join us on our spiritual journey. Our next new member Sunday is June 12th. Our congregation is entirely self-governed by the democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is we provide all of the financial support for our spiritual community from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. We are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving. Most of us make a yearly pledge of support and send our checks in the mail or use our bank's electronic funds transfer process. But we also hold on offertory on Sunday morning to remind each other that we are all expected to support our church in some way. In that spirit, please let us join in our words of offering. If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? Here's a slide showing how you can make a financial contribution right now on our virtual campus. Or if you are on the Alluvial Avenue campus, you can always drop cash or a check into the basket on your way out of the sanctuary. Or you can share generously right this moment by using Cash App. Just send your contribution to UU Fresno. That's UU Fresno. May this church continue to be worthy of the many different forms of our gifts. We began our service this morning with Rumi's timeless words that traveled across the Silk Road. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Though you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come yet again, come. I hope you're glad you spent this time with us and that you have found here renewal and courage for the week ahead. And next Sunday, I hope that you'll come yet again. As we prepare to end our service and enter into our afternoon, please join us in our chalice extinguishing words led by Karen and Troy.
Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts.
I gently pass you back to Tim for some reminders.
Thank you, Riva. And this was the first time Riva was a worship associate for the whole service, so thank you, Riva. And I'm just amazed at the depth of thinking and the beauty of writing that so many in this congregation possess. Also want to thank Nicholas, who at a moment's notice stepped in as drummer today. Thank you for that. And let's give it up for all Stolen Thunder and Hannah, Lorenzo. Gentle reminder that as we exit today, we allow our socially distanced folks to first exit and then followed by the rest of you beautifully masked individuals. We do have coffee hour today on our Alluvial Ave campus. We especially invite anybody who is new or newish to be brave enough to make your way over to the tables. But what that also requires is that those of us who are longer-term members are open enough to invite someone you don't know into conversation. That doesn't always happen, and it makes it really hard if you're somebody new trying to get to know the community. As I always say, the most important person in the sanctuary today is the person who is here for the very first time. Also today, 2 other offerings that you can pick from if caffeine isn't your thing and coffee hour. Our all-church picnic returns live and in person just up Alluvial Ave at Railroad Park at 12:30. Bring your picnic foods, and there's going to be games and a return of our pie contest. So that's at 12:30. For those who poetry is more your thing, at noon, Robert will be leading another of his now world-famous poetry circles, 12 noon here in the sanctuary. Very important Next week is one of our most beloved services, our annual flower communion. And so we invite you to bring a flower or two with you to the sanctuary on Alluvial Ave, or the sanctuary on our virtual campus. And if you've never experienced this ritual, it is just such a beautiful story and enactment of hope. And if you would like to have your picture with a flower flashed on the screen, if you send that to us at cc@uufresno.org, or just send it to me or any of the staff, a picture of you holding a flower, will add you to our slideshow that will be part of the flower communion. We're especially inviting our folks on the virtual campus to do that. cc@uufresno.org, or any of the staff, and we'll get that pictures up on our walls. Last but not least, we like to welcome folks who are here for the first, second, or third time. We do it not to embarrass you, but we are genuinely glad you are with us on this glorious day. So if on our virtual campus, if this is your first, second, or third time, just type your name in the chat box so that we can welcome you. Here on Alluvial Ave, I invite you to rise for just a moment. We won't leave you standing alone for long, I promise. First, second, or third time. Yay, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Welcome, welcome. I invite the rest of the congregation to rise with them for our closing words and then our sung benediction. If you came with others in your pod, you may join hands. If you came on your own, just your precious hands over your heart. Our closing words come from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. We are not alone. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so, blessed be. Amen.
2, 3.
Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. In love, go.
Shalom and assalamu alaikum.
2, 3.